Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Carmine Sabia for Explain America, and yesterday the eyes of the world were on two things: the funeral for the late Pope Francis and the President of the United States as he made the rounds at the funeral. But it's what he said afterwards that has everybody talking. Before we get started, as always, it means so much, guys, if you like, comment, share, and subscribe down below. So, the Pope's funeral was, you don't want to say about a funeral, but it was star-studded. There was luminaries, heads of state. It was obviously a big event. It's the funeral of a pope. This is a big world event. And they're getting ready to have a conclave after the 9 days of mourning to select the next pope. But at the meeting, at the funeral, you saw President Donald Trump meet with French President Emmanuel Macron. You also saw him meet in a photo that really took the internet by storm. Maybe the most popular photo today. You saw him meet with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. Well, when Trump came home, and he was already miffed at Russian President Vladimir Putin for firing missiles on the Ukrainian capital of Kiev. So when he came home, he kind of had a revelation. First, he went off on the New York Times and their reporting of his proposed deal between Russia and Ukraine. But then he said he's concerned that Vladimir Putin is, quote, tapping him along, end quote. He's concerned that Vladimir Putin's just, pretending to want peace while dragging this thing out. Now, that is a marked shift in tone from President Trump, who has been really hard on Zelensky and continues to be. But he's been more believing of Vladimir Putin's case than he has been of Zelensky's. But that tide appears to be turning, because when you're shooting, missiles at Kiev, Trump's saying, well, maybe then you don't want peace. And what he's threatening here is to put more sanctions, banking sanctions, and further regular sanctions on Russia to try and bring enough pressure to bring them to the negotiating table. Trump has had it with this war from both sides. He thinks that these people are both, putting roadblocks to peace in the way of what he believes is a great peace plan. Now, it's going to take concessions from both sides. And right now, both sides appear not wanting to give anything. Now, I think, when Trump said to Zelensky the first time, you don't have the cards, I think he was right. Unless he has American and European backing with weapons and money, Russia would roll over Ukraine. So this is a very pivotal time, and for Trump to say what he said, that is earth-shaking on the world stage. I want you guys to watch this and let me know what you think in the comments.
In Washington with the latest. Maddie, good morning.
Good morning, guys. So the initial assessment from both sides of the roughly 15-minute meeting is that the conversations were positive. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky saying, in part, hoping for results on everything we covered, protecting lives of our people, full and unconditional ceasefire, reliable and lasting peace that will prevent another war from breaking out. Very symbolic meeting that has potential to become historic if we achieve joint results. He goes on to thank the president, a shift in tone after their argument at the Oval Office in February. But in a new Truth Social post, President Trump questions Russian President Vladimir Putin's commitment to end the war, pointing to his attacks on civilian areas over the last few days. The president saying, it makes me think that maybe he does not want to stop the war. He's just tapping me along. The president goes on to suggest tougher sanctions on Russia if it does not cooperate. That post yesterday coming only a day after the president said Russia and Ukraine were close to a deal. There may be one major sticking point. The president tells Time magazine Crimea will stay with Russia. That's despite Ukrainian officials maintaining that land Russia annexed in 2014 is Ukraine's. A lawmaker with Zelensky's party saying we will never recognize Crimea as part of Russia. So the president is back in the United States in Bedminster, New Jersey. We'll see if he'll have any more reaction to the peace talks later on today. Charlie, Rachel, and Griff.
Thank you, Maddie.
Thanks, Maddie.
You got it.
Well, yesterday you had